a true crime story with you while reviewing and trying out a couple different bottles of wine, all from your countries. So I kind of forgot to mention in my previous videos that we did 3,000 subscribers recently. It was around when I put out my Epstein video, and I was very preoccupied by that. But now, not only have we hit 3, but we're very close. We may even have hit 4 by the time I post this, who knows? And I'm very excited about that. Obviously, that's our little family is getting bigger. And if you've seen my previous videos, you know that I love to incorporate your guys' comments, anything that you guys leave recommendations for. I like to incorporate you in the video. So I thought a fun way to do that would be to review wines from the top viewed countries based on the views from my YouTube analytics. So I hope this is fun. I hope it's not just embarrassing for me after I have a bit too much. But I'm just gonna try and keep it light. I just want to have fun with you guys today and do a little celebration while going over a international true crime story and cheersing the following countries as we go throughout our story. So we will be drinking wines from the United States, United Kingdom, Australia, and Canada, as those are our 4 most viewed countries, if that makes sense. And I know I was mentioning that our true crime story is international as it takes place in Poland, which I have exactly 21 viewers from there, so hey Poland. So let's get into the video. There will be a couple different segues throughout this, but we're going to start with our basic intro. I'd like you all to get yourselves nice and comfortable. Grab yourselves a water, a Mio, a glass of wine, some popcorn, and ease your minds as we dive into the true crime tale of Krystian Bala. This is another one of those stories where I'm going to butcher all of the names because they're Polish names. Now, since this takes place in Poland, the first bottle that I thought I would open up is going to be an ode to the United Kingdom, since it's closest to where this story is taking place. Let's just grab our beverage here. Okay, so it looks like our first beverage is called Stone's Original Green Ginger Flavored Wine. Now, I'm not gonna lie, when I was at the liquor store, I looked everywhere for one bottle of wine or anything, and I almost ended up just grabbing Guinness because I don't know why, but the United Kingdom really isn't represented well at our liquor stores here. So I found this, and hopefully you know what this is. I apologize to everyone who has unsubscribed from the United Kingdom due to my outfit choice. To be fair, I'm not a Gryffindor, I'm a Hufflepuff, but I bought this when I didn't know any better. So I did read online that stones should be drank with ice cubes, apparently, which is interesting because I'd heard that in the UK that hot wine was a thing, but I guess not. Let's start our little review / tasting with a little glass of stones, and then we'll get to the story. Oh my. That's a smell. Okay. Maybe this will be my next favorite thing. Cheers. The initial blunt force of that, the aftertaste isn't as bad, but whoa, that is okay. So I just read online because I had to Google this, and this drink is actually more used in a mix. It is wine, but apparently most people put different things in it. So I found something where it's this wine with vodka as a mix. So, fun fact about you guys, British consumers drink an average of 108 bottles of wine a year per person, making the UK the booziest nation in the Western world, according to a new report. I definitely would get along with you guys. I've always wanted to live there. I love wine. Obviously, I made a channel around it. Seriously, my dream. Hopefully, this wine will get me sloshed off my trolley. I'll see myself out. Shows up in a Harry Potter outfit. With every taste, I feel more ginger, and I like it. It's not bad. The soda really brings out a nicer flavor to it. It really was tragic. It was tragic before, but now I'm getting it. There's a lot of gingers. It's quite floral. I like it. Oh, in the southwest corner of Poland, far away from any town or city. I really need to reiterate how far away. There is a river called Oder River. It is a very heavily foliaged. You're not getting words like that throughout the rest of the video, let me tell you. It is in a heavily wooded area, lots of tree banks, lots of water, it's very lovely spots, and it's not seen by many people. In fact, the only people who regularly trek there are fishermen. On a cold December day in the year 2000, 3 friends were casting there when one of them noticed something floating by the shore. They thought it was a log kind of floating there, but as it drew closer, it looked like what was human hair. And one of the fishermen shouted out to his friends, who'd kind of poked it with a rod, and sure enough, it was a dead body. Fishermen's, people who boat runners, they always find corpses. It's crazy. Or TikTokers, apparently. So the fishermen had called the police, whom carefully removed the corpse from the water, and a noose was hung around the body's neck, with his hands bound behind his back. So part of the rope, which appeared to have been cut with a knife, had once connected his hands to his neck, binding the man in a backward cradle. Oh, the position would have been quite excruciating. Actually, they determined that just the slightest of wiggles from his fists or arms would have made the noose around the man's neck tighter. Oh, it was very clear that this man was not only murdered, but in a very torturous way. The fishermen, I'm sure, were mortified, but stumbling across the body in such a very uncommon area for people to trek was quite lucky, at least for the victim to have been found. So the police had reported that the corpse was male, with visible wounds to his body. There was scratches around his face caused by what they think was some sort of tool. And the police went searching through then went searching through the missing persons records and had found and identified the man. And this is where I'm gonna screw up. Darius Janiskovi. Darius, whom had been missing for just over 1 month. The news of the murder had ended up capturing the attention of cryoscientist Kasper Goradin. I actually think I said that okay. He knew there was something very unique about this case due to the rope tying and the clearly sadistic methods used against the victim. And the cryoscientist thought that the methods used against him weren't really to make him drown, but to make him suffocate by ways of the noose and hands. So when Kasper studied the pathology reports, it revealed more disturbing details. His stomach and his intestines were completely empty once they had found the body. But note, I picked this case because when I found it, it was actually listed as the dumbest serial killer moments, which you will see as we go on why. Because I thought maybe that would be easy for me to keep up with, not too many details, having a few drinks. No. I think that BuzzFeed, whoever it was, that, definitely not BuzzFeed, but whoever it was that had said that was, they didn't look into it enough. Dumbest, but you can't summarize things like this as simply as that. So it looked like a gang-related execution, but criminal psychologists said no, there's no way. Based on the body's circumstances shown, it seemed like there was a great deal of anger, and it was doubtful that it was some sort of organized punishment killing, but a bit more passionate and clearly brought on by a brutal rage. So investigators had to look a bit more into the life of the victim to see kind of what his life was like, if he was involved in anything sort of sketchy. I'm already falling apart in my grammar. But yeah, to kind of see maybe what his life was like and who would want to harm him. So Darius was a 35-year-old businessman, tall with long dark hair and blue eyes. He actually lived only 36 miles away and was reporting missing by his wife. His wife and him had been together for about 8 years, with a brief period where they were very low, not doing that great, almost separated. They'd obviously had some ups and downs in their times, but had reconnected and were happily reconciled with hopes to adopt a child in the near future. Further investigation showed that he had no debts, no enemies, and no criminal record, so there was really nothing to tie him to, and his friends and family absolutely adored him. There was really no hatred. He owned a small advertising firm in downtown Rocklaw, and he was described as a gentleman whom was an amateur guitarist and composed music for his rock band. He didn't start any fights, did not provoke anyone, and was genuinely a nice guy. So it was difficult for them to find any perpetrators during their initial investigation. He was last seen November 13th leaving his firm, and since there was no one that they could connect to the case, no evidence anyone was ever even there, literally nothing on him, things looked a little bit bleak, especially because he was left in the barren lands unseen by anyone in a long time. So things were a bit rough. But we all know that I hate unsolved crimes. We did that in the last video. I will do them, but I'm not subjecting myself to that once again. So this one, we get the details. I couldn't handle another mystery. I'd have to take my jam jar down to the rub-a-dub for a pig's ear. Are they messing with me? Probably making every person from the United Kingdom feel so uncomfortable. So as much as I've enjoyed this beverage, that I think I rated a 5 or a 6, something like that, we're going to say pip pip to the United Kingdom and go explore a little elsewhere. So thank you again to the UK. What's going on, America? Let's get hammered. Like how I already owned all of these things. Little Pepsi. fine. So a fun fact about the US is they drink a lot. They actually reported in 2018 to have sold 6.5 billion gallons of wine. What up, States? Are the world's leading consumer of wine since 2011. So, I mean, hey, big fan of your work. I mean, let's see if I like this particular bottle, but one moment. I've been to quite a few wine tastings in my day. Technically, my hand isn't supposed to be touching the glass because it will change the temperature and therefore the flavor, but I may have had a bit more of that stone stuff than you guys thought. Oh, that's good. I'm really specific about my cab salves. I hate when they're too harsh. I hate when they're really overpowering, and this is really smooth. I sound like a loser. It's fine. Big fan. Give this an 8. 7.5. I'm gonna give this a 7.5. I need to get a couple more sips in. So anyways, where were we? The police were obviously upset because the Polish press media had started referring to this as the perfect crime. And it kind of seemed like it was because there's no suspects, no details, and ultimately the perfect choice in victim. He was a simple, happy man, no one to connect to, and that's not only discouraging and not great for them, but frustrating as well for the media to be referring to it as this perfect crime. They ended up trying to get some insight by recruiting a host of Poland's most popular TV true crime show. Yeah. So I literally thought that this was the perfect moment to put the States in here because you have Trump, your president, who used to literally be a TV show host as well. And you have Kanye West, who's now said he's running for president. So, TV show host working with police. I thought that would be a nice little moment to throw you guys in there. Oh yeah, this is good. Wine drunk isn't fun either. That's a lie. It's a lot of fun, but not later on. So you have Poland's true crime TV show host trying to lend a helping hand. The police honestly just exhausted all their options. There wasn't much they felt they could do, and Michael Fashbush had given them some primetime TV exposure and was encouraging people to come forward with any information that they may have. So they actually received plenty of hits from all over the world in weird places, which is interesting, but got no new leads, nothing. And so in June of 2001, the murder ended up slipping out of all the headlines, and only 6 months later, the entire investigation was dropped. So the Polish press were kind of right at this point. I really like this outfit. I wish I could wear this around Canada. I'd look crazy. But I wouldn't have looked crazy in the Harry Potter outfit. I'm just saying. So it's 2003, a year and a half after the case was abandoned, and an annual routine review of unsolved murders was underway. So Detective Jacques Robluski had taken a look again, and he couldn't find any connections to any organized crimes, robberies, but what he did find was honestly laughable. He noticed right away that the victim's cell phone, which was on him when he went missing, was never on his body when they collected him. So it could be nothing. It could be just sitting there at the bottom of the lake, or it could unravel everything. America. So the missing phone was the only lead that any detectives had, but he wasn't honestly too optimistic, thinking the killer either destroyed it, that type of thing. But the detective was very fortunate and so on and so on and so on. They'd kind of started to unwind the times of the murder. Detectives did end up finding the very first buyer, which was actually only purchased 3 days after the murder, and they had found it on an online auction site that was sold by a username Chris B7. The registration details online ended up proving the account itself to belong to a Krystian Bala. Thank God I can say that name. So this Krystian, he was a 30-something Polish man. Now, what I liked about this case, honestly a lot, was that when the investigators had found the link to a man who was selling this phone 3 days after the murder, they did not assume that he was involved at all. In fact, when they realized that this man could even potentially be connected, they instantly went the opposite route and thought, okay, how can we prove this man's innocence? They were much more humane about it. They weren't instantly like, oh, this guy's got to be it. What could we find to connect him to the case? They actually tried to disconnect him from the case because they're nice like that. So you know what? Good job, Poland. Good job for your legal system being polite, like so polite. And this is actually my cue now. As much as I genuinely really enjoyed this, bros, I don't know. I don't have any funny jokes. The United States and Canada can be very similar. But this is my cue to move on to a different country and have a glass from good old-fashioned Canada. How's it going? That was cringy, even for me. Now, this is a great time for Canada to chime in, hey, because we are known for being overwhelmingly kind. Don't get me wrong, not all of us are. But with the authorities making the best out of this situation and putting in a little positive segment, little spin, I just thought good old Canada could pop by and say hi, and I could have a sip of wine that I've actually never tried before and I'm very excited about. So the wine of choice for Canada is actually called Conviction. I was really playing up the theme here. If I could have found more English wine, maybe we could have continued. So this is made in British Columbia. It is a Pinot Noir, which I actually love, and luckily I think every wine I drink is all a different type, so I'm very excited about that. Okay. Also, since I read the last one a little bit, the top says stay true to your convictions, and the back says I feel it in my bones. 80 years ago, an industrial, a priest, and a financier collaborated to spark the humble beginnings of the Kelowna winery. Everyone knows Kelowna, it's fantastic. Pinot Noir is an ode to staying true to our convictions and the realization of our dreams. Again, so positive. So let's have a little sippy poo here, yeah? Little sippy poo, this little wobbly pop. I keep forgetting this is a Pinot Noir, and I was questioning the smell. It's really good, actually. I'm surprised. I honestly like most, well, that's not true. I can be a bit picky, but that's, it's so incredibly smooth. also, that is exactly what Krystian had said when he was in prison. He was reading excerpts from it in English, and I think there was a bit of a mistranslation there, so, because it sounds a bit choppy, but what do I know? So, I'm boiling. I normally wear this literally probably every day in the winter, but I need to change a little bit. One moment. Much better. I think I legitimately wore this on Canada Day just a couple weeks ago. A good little visor, a little appreciation there. You know, gotta represent. I do look like I should be working at some sort of drive-through, like Canada is the newest McDonald's or something. So let's continue on. Krystian insisted that this was simply a story and fiction. It was all just a created myth, you know, but definitely not real. But the descriptions of the murder and violent events was so similar to the actual murder that took place that it definitely made detectives question everything. So the book itself was rated terribly. People hated it. And not only that, it just wasn't selling because it was half hardcore porn and the other half insanely graphic violence. Okay, I think we learned from 50 Shades of Grey that it has to at least be pure graphic hardcore porn with at least consensual violence. I don't know. It also apparently had no real plot, and Chris, the main character, remember this guy's name is Krystian, does whatever he wants, thinks he's amazing, puts himself on this crazy pedestal, and he murders a woman named Mary and sells the murder weapon online. So the detectives ended up purchasing this novel and said that the parallels within it were all too real. In the book, the Chris man murdered a woman named Mary, but sold the weapon, and yet Krystian had sold a dead man's cell phone. It's kind of weird parallels, right? Along with the use of a rope to tie up a victim, the book actually had the same descriptions other than the stabbings. The same style of murder was very eerily the same. Krystian instantly went from simply a man that they just hoped had accidentally may have been selling a dead man's phone to instantly their online suspect number one. Did I rate this yet? I'm giving it an 8. This is an 8. It's very good. I still stand by what was my other ones? Good, except for Stones, which was fair. So when detectives actually read through everything and they looked into the timing of the phone being sold in comparison to the death, they'd actually realized that Krystian very shortly after had left Poland. And that definitely stalled the case a bit. The detectives didn't have enough evidence to pursue the case abroad, but although there was a link, there wasn't enough hard, tangible evidence between Krystian and the victim. Oh my god, I'm definitely feeling it. Guys, we made it to 3/ almost 4,000. That's exciting, right? I don't know. I was just as excited at 100, So detectives didn't want to question Krystian's family or friends in case they tipped him off that they were kind of looking into him. So the detectives just continued to read through his book, hoping to find some sort of motive that they could potentially look into. All they wanted was simply to establish facts. I don't think that they really would have gotten that out of a book, but they figured that this was a game to him, to murder someone, then write and publish a novel about it. It's probably some sort of cocky aspect to it to correct. And after weeks of going through this novel, they'd potentially found a motive. So have you guys ever seen Basic Instinct? It's like the same thing, I think. Anyway, it's just the perfect alibi. Like Sharon Stone literally said, like, I'd have to be crazy to commit a murder and then write a book about it, wouldn't I? Like, exact same thing. Anyway, so they believed that the motive and the key to this case was revealed on the final page with references to jealousy. Again, I still don't really think that's very tangible, and I'm assuming they did as well, because they had to play the waiting game. So many months passed, and it says 2004. I don't think that's right. I'm gonna say it though. In 2004, Krystian's passport was flagged entering Poland, and he was arrested and taken in for questioning. 2004 was right. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't know. So, Marcin Kucharski, the court prosecutor who was to question Krystian, wanted him to feel comfortable. He was a polite man, and he'd asked for his handcuffs to be removed to kind of create a better atmosphere. Very nice guy. But Krystian was dismissive, and you have to remember, this murder was very publicized, so he knew exactly the questions that were being told to him. If a high-profile murder had happened in my area and I was being questioned for it, I'd be polite. I wouldn't be rude. I'd be like, oh, I can't believe, I'm so Krystian was dismissive and rude, and especially the nature of this murder was very torturous. He could at least be polite. So Marcin decided, screw it, and asked straight up if he had helped anyone kill the victim. And you know what Krystian responded with? I didn't help anyone kill him. I killed him on my own. And the prosecutors was obviously so excited. They got a full confession from him. But their excitement was very short-lived. Krystian had then instantly started looking around the room really aggressively. He was jolting. He'd picked up the phone to the table, smashed it down several times, acting very strange, asking for water, and then started freaking out. So they'd phoned an ambulance, and they checked him out, found out nothing was wrong, threw him right back in his interview, and were like, no, you're fine, say what you need to say. So as soon as he got back, what was unfortunate is that he'd changed his entire story. He'd retracted his confession, and this was a big red flag to the prosecutors. And the prosecutors ended up contacting a psychiatrist who had evaluated Krystian, because they wanted to make sure that he was at least of sound mind if they were going to be talking with him. So the psychiatrist actually ended up zeroing in and focusing heavily on Krystian's narcissistic traits. They had said that he'd considered himself very superior to others, and that he was smarter than everyone else. So without a full confession, the detectives needed to build a case against Krystian, and they had no evidence to tie him to the murder other than the fictional murder to the real one. So they definitely had their work cut out for them. This is where the prosecutors had then dug into the secret life of Krystian Bala. So Krystian Bala was born on January 1st of 1974, a New Year's baby, in Lower Silesian. Yep. Krystian was very smart and a charismatic individual. He was from a middle-class family and the oldest of two siblings, but he got into a lot of conflicts growing up with other children, which his family didn't question much as he was a child. But even with all of these things, he was always still very confident. Growing up, though, he ended up going to university and studying philosophy. And in school, he grew up to have a very legendary reputation, says the media, at least. He was loved by his teachers, his friends. He was confident, and he had lots of women in and out of his life. But it turns out that he was very, very hit or miss. He'd have his moments where he was amazing, on fire, and others where he would switch and become an incredibly confrontational man, which I think we all know those people. His friends would end up noticing that he was always lying, his money into a cleaning company, but within months, the businesses crumbled as well as his marriage. So in 1999, Krystian's wife had divorced him. She was probably sick of him, sick of his stuff. And of course, being married to a controlling narcissist, yeah, I get it. But he could never really let it go. He ended up becoming sort of obsessed with his ex-wife, and it really intensified over time. He would follow her around bars, threaten to kill her, and any man she'd ever go be with, he threatened to kill them as well to her. Does that make sense? Which, like, you had affairs constantly. Maybe let it go. Let the woman just live. Now that you guys aren't together, it's very hard for a narcissist to let go. Basically, once you're with them, you are their property. And now, we're gonna just jump over to land down under, you know? Great segue here to our last country, Australia. G'day, mate. Yeah, I don't have anything cool that could be related to Australia, outfit-wise, so let's just assume I'm from the outback. I am so sorry. Anyway, it's cute, I guess. So, for the final bottle of wine that we will be reviewing, even though I don't even remember if we properly reviewed the rest. Maybe we did, and I'm just so great at this. Is 19 Crimes. Now what's crazy is I had no clue that this was from Australia. I love this wine. Well, I don't even know if I love this wine because I can't remember the taste. I just know I've drank it, or at least people have given it to me a lot. So let's actually really try here. Now I would just like to say as well that I had cleaned almost all of my glasses prior to pouring, except for this one, but yeah. Anyway, so 19 Crimes is a Shiraz, a 2018 Shiraz, which is pretty awesome. I don't know why. Anyway, so it's a 2018 Shiraz, and I know they actually just released a new batch, I guess, that has Snoop Dogg on it. I don't know if it's a different type. I don't know if it's a Cab Sav or anything, but I know that was released. My friends were very excited about it. I couldn't find it once I realized this was Australian. So 19 Crimes turns convicts into colonists. Upon conviction, British rogues guilty of those crimes were sentenced to Australia rather than death. This punishment by transportation began in 1778. 88. I read it, I just couldn't say it. And many of the lawless died at sea. The Ravoon prisoners who'd reached Australia lived in servitude under the lash. Pioneers in a frontier penal colony, they forged a new country and new lives brick by brick. This 2018 Shiraz celebrates the rules they broke and the cultures that they built. So if you didn't notice, there's a bit of a theme. We had convicted, we had confessions, and now we have 19 crimes. So originally I really wanted to know, like, everyone's favorites, what you guys drink on the daily, but guess what? I couldn't get most of those things, and the only ones I could get were incredibly in theme with my videos, so that's kind of awesome. Oh yeah, that's good. It's got a bit of a... It's not as smooth as the others. It's a bit more, it's got a bit more of a little kick to it. It's a little more flavorful. I would say this is rich, not very heavy, but still very good. I would say this is a 7, and I take it back and I make Conviction a 9. That is a really good wine. This will be an 8. This is because it's like a little classic. But this, I would say, you know what? I'll leave my final rating till the end. Watch me not even remember any of the proper ratings. We'll see. Alright, anyway. So, we're sitting here talking about Krystian and talking about how he was terrible to his ex-wife and he was very possessive. If you like my opinion, Australian here speaking, he should just pull the Jim Jeffries. Not only had left his ex alone, but simply bought her a house to make sure that she stays away. That's what Jim would have done, wouldn't it? It's like cracking open this little Australian beauty. Do you reckon I should neck it? What you reckon? I'm sorry. God, I must say, thank you all if you've made it to this part in the video. If you have, maybe I don't know, say Australia or something in the comments. But not only that, but two, for subscribing, because I enjoy this so much and I really like including you guys. I'm getting nerdy, but I'm having a great time with this fun new hobby and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So I hope I'm not making everyone unsubscribe by making this video. But yeah, this would pair real nice with a little kangaroo meat and a little capsicum. Oh yeah. So anyways, it turns out that Krystian's ex-wife Stasia, in the summer of 1999, ended up meeting a young musician in a bar named, you guessed it, Darius. And they did have a brief affair. If you remember in the beginning, I discussed how Darius and his wife went through a really low peak. They got over it. Yeah. And Krystian ended up finding out and sure enough confronting his ex-wife like the psycho he was. So November 13th of the year 2000 is when Darius ended up disappearing, just a little over a year after his affair with Krystian's ex-wife. None of the descriptions in the book were ended up used against Krystian in the trial as well, as this was simply a story. The court would not use it against him. I mean, hello, if basic instinct has taught us anything. And Krystian used this to his advantage as well, saying this entire court case against him is a joke, all based on a work of fiction, circumstance, which, yeah, I think the court was probably initially thinking the same, maybe a little embarrassed, but the judge clarified to him that we're not critiquing your work of fiction, we're critiquing your work of possible crime, which made him furious. Absolutely, and good. Screw him. The trial ended up becoming a media circus. Things like the handsome author and unassumed defendant was on newspapers daily and magazines, and it was considered a spectacular and biggest media frenzy that Poland has ever had. It was especially theatrical to the masses, I think, because the fact that they said he committed the perfect crime with the perfect victim and then left the country, started up fully elsewhere to return, and had no hard evidence against him is absolutely insane. So it was pretty circumstances, especially with the book being gone. His troubles really started with his decision to sell the victim's phone. I mean, let it sink to the bottom of a lake, destroy it, whatever you want. Don't sell the victim's phone. You're crazy. Not only that, Krystian was very adamant that he never met the man, never even knew of this person that they were talking about, which, one, you did because of the news media. It was a huge story. And two, because of what happened next. So a witness who was friends with Stasia, I could be saying this so wrong, Krystian's ex-wife, had came forward in court saying that Krystian actually asked about him. And not only asked about him, but was asking about this mystery man that his ex-wife was talking to, his whereabouts, where he worked, and wondering if he could meet him. However, when going through Krystian's belongings, no, that story's false. I never met him. I didn't even know his name. Well, guess what? They had found a notebook, details of the victim's company in it, as well as a company pen and the victim's business cards. Get it together. Never heard of him. Sure, we believe you. So the trial continued, and investigators actually looked back at the true crime TV show that initially tried to help them get hits, get details, and they realized that some of the hits that I mentioned previously that were in weird areas around the world. I'm sorry, I'm from Canada. I'm not going and looking into an active true crime case in Poland daily, checking in on it. One, I wouldn't understand it, and two, I wouldn't, and neither would probably any of you guys. It's very odd that someone was checking in at weird areas. Well, it turns out that they could prove that Krystian was in the exact areas of those hits when those hits came in. They checked out his IP addresses, and once analyzed, they could make that connection. And the website evidence really made the detectives know that they were on the right track, which is honestly what they needed after such a rough patch of ups and downs. But this didn't even play into getting him convicted. It was one of Krystian's friends that ended up coming forward and testifying against him. They'd ended up saying that a blackout drunk Krystian on New Year's came to him at a party and was bragging about how he'd already killed one of Stasha's previous lovers, and that he did it with a rope, and went into further details. So all of these things, honestly, the small things, and with this confession and more people coming forward, ended up adding against him. And the book, in my opinion, was just the topping on the cake, icing on the cake in my eyes, but they didn't even need it in the end. Oh, after his friends testified, it was in September of 2007 that Krystian was found guilty of murder and sentenced to 25 years in jail. So good. So, with all of the evidence that was slowly collected against him, what do you guys think would be the most incriminating for you? Would it have been the book and the excerpts that were very similar but not identical to the crimes? Would it be him selling the phone, him reaching out to people, saying that he wanted to meet this person, having the notebook with the business addresses and such? Leave a comment below and let me know what you think of this story and what you think would have been the smoking gun in your eyes. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't fully remember the wine ratings. I would say I'll just go from least to favorites. My favorite of all time would have to be Conviction, which is actually the British Columbia wine. That is a 2016 Pinot Noir, and that's saying a lot because I'm a big Cab Sav girl. I would then say 19 Crimes is a close second, followed by Confessions, which I almost feel bad for how close these two are. They're so good. Honestly, it's insane. California and Australia. Honestly though, those two locations are incredibly known for their wines. Napa Valley, my fiance has been to Australia and did a few wine tours there. Loved it. And I am sad to say that Stones is my least favorite. However, it was a good mixer, but it says wine. It's a lie. And it was honestly the only thing that was directly from the United Kingdom that wasn't Irish whiskey or Guinness, so there wasn't enough options for you guys. Now, I would just like to thank you guys again for subscribing, for continuously commenting on my videos, and leaving things are changing. I'm excited. Thank you guys again for watching. Can't wait to see you guys in the